Alright, this movie's not as bad as everyone says it is, but it's not good either. Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. My name is Dalal, and you're watching Popcorn and Soda, the show where we discuss all things movies, pop culture, and so much more. As always, I want to thank each and every one of you for making me a small part of your day. Borderlands. Where do I begin with Borderlands? Every summer, there is this big IP of a film that drops. It's either from a video game, a book, or just some sort of pop culture, zeitgeist that's there. And this year, it happened to be Borderlands, a film that is based on one of the widely most selling video games of like the last 20 years, I believe. And we're in a new space now, really, if you think about it, when it comes to video game adaptations, where it's probably at the gold standard. You have something like The Last of Us, you have something like Fallout. Those are Emmy nominated shows because you have the right people behind those projects who understand what those stories mean and how they can be translated onto a big screen. So, did the movie Borderlands continue that trend of knocking it out of the park for video game adaptations? Sadly, the answer is no. If anything, this movie feels like it was made in the early 2000s. And that's not a knock necessarily about the film. It just feels like there's an identity crisis here where the film doesn't really know what it wants to be. And I think that is where I was zoning in and out, because at some points it is a comedy with this group of scavengers. At some point, it's this big popcorn CGI blockbuster fest with amazing CGI. But then, like 10 minutes later, you see some of like the worst CGI of the summer. So it's definitely a tale of many cooks in the kitchen, because it feels like the movie it doesn't have an identity. But that's not to say that there isn't an audience for this film, because I truly believe that there is an audience for this film. And I am not going to be as negative about this film as everyone else, because this is probably widely the worst rated probably film at this point of the year, but definitely of the summer. And I think that's fair to an extent, but I don't think it's fair either, because there's definitely some positives in this film that I think a certain demographic would really, really enjoy. So, let's start at the very beginning. I actually had the chance to go watch the Canadian premiere of this film. Thank you to the friends over at Cineplex Pictures and Touchwood PR. You guys are the gold standard, and I had a great time. They honestly took great care of me and all of the amazing guests that came to watch this film. And again, going into the movie, I had, lukewarm expectations, because this movie has been like at least 3-4 years since it actually shot, and now it's finally releasing, and that's usually like a red flag, because that means that the studios are usually trying to figure out how they can salvage the film based off of whatever footage that they captured, right? And it finally got to a point where they're like, let's just release this, get it out there, we'll make as much as we can with it, and then we'll move forward. So what's this movie about? I'll keep it brief because I'm not too familiar with the video game prior to watching the movie, and after watching the movie I still wasn't like 100% sure about what it really was about. For the most part, I got the most of it, the gist of the movie, but I think there is parts that we're still a little confused about. So it's about this legendary bounty hunter played by Cate Blanchett named Lilith. And let's pause right there. Freaking like Cate Blanchett, one of the most decorated female actors of this generation, is in this movie as the lead, and that's wild. I remember reading somewhere, I think she said her kids played this game. I could be wrong, but I feel like I remember some sort of quote like that a few years back where she said, that's one of the reasons why she wanted to do this film. Cate Blanchett's in this film. She's this legendary bounty hunter who returns to her home planet of Pandora, in which that, there is some hidden mysteries, and she's here to find this girl who's been kind of kidnapped / lost. And there is where she encounters this whole group of, ragtag scavenger / bounty hunters, which include Kevin Hart, Ariana Greenblatt, Jamie Lee Curtis, the gentleman who plays Drago's son, Florian, I believe is his first name. He had a great role in this. And lastly, there's this little cute, adorable robot, more on that later, named Claptrap, who is played by and voiced, well, most are voiced by Jack Black. So she goes on this planet of Pandora where she reluctantly goes, where she doesn't want to go. And that's where the story kind of starts to unravel, that there is more to what meets the eye in regards to this girl who she's trying to find and the people that are actually looking out, for this girl and trying to find her. So as always, I kind of start at the positives of what I actually liked about the film. And then we'll kind of talk about some of the things that I wasn't the biggest fan of in this film. So a positive that I can take away from this film is that robot, Claptrap. I thought it was very cute, and I thought it was very, some of the one-liners that it was saying, they hit. I had a little smirk in my face, a couple of them for sure, and I thought it was good comedic relief. I really enjoyed that. I really did. Jack Black is an absolute, maestro when it comes to comedy. I absolutely love Jack Black. And I think that even though you don't physically see Jack Black, I think his mannerisms, his voice work in this movie, I think it was very top notch. So I think that little character of Claptrap is great. And then Cate Blanchett, again, I absolutely adore everything that she's in. She's such a talented actress. And, I think that she did the best that she could with this film. The third thing I'll say is, although this movie may not have been something directly geared towards me, or maybe even a mass audience, I truly think kids are going to like this movie. That's why I'm not going to be difficult or, give this movie such a low score or completely trash it, because I truly do believe that there is an audience. I think kids will really like this movie. To me, this kind of felt like a movie I watched like in the 90s growing up, like, the Power Rangers movie, where, your kid, your imagination just kind of runs wild and you resonate with some of the characters. And that's not a knock, because I love the Power Rangers movie growing up. But I think this movie, I think kids will enjoy it, like I truly do, because there's a lot of comedic jokes in there. The character of Claptrap, some of the bad guys, it's like, it's very campy, but I think children will really like this movie. Adults, I don't know. I probably, this wasn't made for me from what it seems like me watching it. Of course, they make movies for the mass audience, but I just think that children will have a good time with this. That's why I don't understand all the hate for this movie. But hey, art is subjective. Something that I like, you may not. Something you like, I may not. And that's perfectly okay, my friends. That is the beauty of cinema. So that's pretty much what I liked about the film. What I didn't like about the film, let's kind of deep dive into that. Again, like I said at the start, this movie is a mishmash of an identity crisis where it doesn't know what it wants to be, really. And it's like, at one point, you could see that a lot of heavy lifting went into the editing of this film, where it kind of changed the narrative of maybe what they even shot. I'm a big Kevin Hart fan. I like Kevin Hart. But in this movie, I couldn't get with the whole character of Kevin Hart. I felt like he was just playing Kevin Hart. And I don't know, just something about his character. He's one of the people looking out for the girl. And I don't know, it just didn't hit me right. Like the Kevin Hart character is just, not for me. What I didn't also like was just the CGI and the effects of this film. And I think this is where maybe corners may have been cut, because they knew that this movie may not be very well received. So they kind of focused on the big, heavy action pieces. And then some of the other things kind of just went a wayside. So I wasn't a fan of the CGI because it really took me out. And it's a shame, because a lot of the CGI was really good. But then there's like really jonky CGI that's like, whoa, what is this? Like an early 2000s movie or like what? So that's something I didn't like. The third thing that I didn't like, and it's not even necessarily something I didn't like, it's just something that was really disappointing, is that like Eli Roth directed this film, and he's one of my favorite horror directors, period. You guys know horror is my favorite genre, and Eli Roth has made some of my favorite horror movies. And that's why when I heard that he was going to be directing this, I was kind of curious. I'm like, okay, let's see what Eli can do on a large scale in terms of budget, superstar actors and see what comes of it. And it's disappointing that it doesn't feel like an Eli Roth movie. And I think that's what maybe I'm most let down by, because he's got such a unique palette when he does his films. And that's why I can kind of tell that there's a lot of hands that went into this film in the editing room to try to make something of this, to create like a Guardians of the Galaxy narrative rather than what maybe Eli shot. So I think that was a little disappointing because I didn't see that personality that I see in a lot of other Eli Roth movies. So overall, guys, what did I think of this film? You guys know my score, ratings, all of that. I don't give a movie a number. I don't give it a star rating. To me, it's always broken down into 3 different categories. A, is this a movie theater movie that you should absolutely go watch at a movie theater? B, is this a streaming movie where you kind of, wait for it when it comes out on streaming and then you watch it? Or C, is it like a rainy day movie where you're just kind of eating something, you're trying to throw something in the background while you're not even fully paying attention to it and kind of just go on with your day? To me, I would say this is in that sweet spot of a streaming movie, but slightly bit less in terms of a rainy day movie. And I'll tell you why. I think it's a good streaming movie because I think children will really like this. I truly do, because I can see how a kid would smile at some of those jokes, or how they would maybe get a blast out of some of those crazy video game references or CGI effects that were in there. I truly think that this movie has an audience. It really does. And I think that's one thing that's just not being said enough. I think children will have a good time with it. But at the same time, outside of children, and hey, who knows, maybe a lot of video game players that like Borderlands, maybe they like this movie, and I hope they did, because, movies are 2 things, my friends: time and money, 2 things that we don't necessarily ever get back. So they're a big investment of your life. And I hope everyone who watches this movie likes it, because, that's 2 important things you're not going to get back. So the reason why I would say it's a rainy day movie is because I just don't think I would ever revisit this film. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. It just means that I wasn't the audience for it. So again, there were some good things in the film. Absolutely. The one thing I did forget to mention, Ariana Greenblatt, she plays the young girl in the film. I thought it was a great character. I really did. It was, for what it was, I thought it was a charming character. This kid who's kind of like a troublemaker. I liked it. I did. So I have to be fair about that. I truly did. So is the mass majority of people going to like Borderlands? Probably not. I don't consider it as, something that impacts the video game adaptations that are currently out, because this is a movie that was shot prior to all of those coming out. Last of Us, Fallout. I truly think that, it's important. The video game genre is important. I think there's some great stories out there. And just because Borderlands didn't hit for everyone doesn't mean that, we should stop making video game movies and adapting a lot of really good stories that are out there. So, it sucks that this movie wasn't more widely accepted and more watched, because I feel like it's going to lose a lot of money from just reading the box office reports every weekend. But it's okay. We move forward. I hope if you take your kids to watch Borderlands that they had a good time with it. And I hope if not even your kids, I hope you had a good time with it. So leave it be. That is my review of Borderlands. As always, please comment below and do share what you thought of the film. Did you enjoy it? Was it a good video game adaptation? Please do share, because I'm very interested in thinking what you guys thought. As always, please remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. Hit that little bell notification to get all the latest videos. And I will see you next time on Popcorn and Soda.